So I got this new microphone and I'm supposed to hook it right here, but every time I hook it on my thing, it falls over. So I guess I'm just going to hold it down here. I'm just going to hold it down here, give me something to do as I am talking, because I get a little bit of anxiety when I make videos still, even though it's been years. That's just where I am right now. Okay, so today I want to talk about my experience in grad school. I am 1.5 years into getting my master's in counseling, and it has been, I can't even tell you how much of a, I will tell you how much of a transformational experience that it has been. And before I started, I looked up so many videos to see what other people's experience was and just what to expect. So I am going to try to give as much insight as I can around this. And I have notes right here. First part is all about personal development. So I decided to do an in-person program as opposed to online. I had like some anxiety about going back to school in person. A lot of my own personal traumas stem from stuff that happened to me when I was younger in school. So I think there's some momentum behind that. But a friend of mine and mentor who is a psychologist really urged me to go to an in-person program and to have those physical interactions with people in my cohort. So when you're in this program, you have what's called as a cohort of people that you kind of move through the program with. Leaning on this group of people that are going through the same experience as you is just going to be invaluable. I am so glad that I did that. Now, I know some people who are on online programs and they are also having a fulfilling time. But from what I have heard from the couple people that I know, they wish they would have had that in-person experience as well. I guess it really depends on what you need in your life, what your schedule is, whether you have a family or a full-time job. There's just a lot of things to consider there. But for me, I am such an experiential person and, on the neurodivergency spectrum, and it helps me to focus if I am in person with people. After you get accepted and you're in the program, you're going to have orientation where you're talking to people who are leading the program and different professors, and they just kind of give you insight to what to expect and some hot tips. They urged us to really go slow, let the natural flow of the program kind of work through you, because the whole experience is a personal development course. You're learning a ton of theory during the 2.5-year process, but you're really developing yourself and understanding what it means to go from who you are now to being a professional counselor. And, I'm 1.5 years into this program and I'm still really comprehending what that means. A lot of this process will be undoing what your preconceived notions and biases are in general towards people and how you communicate and you interact and understand others. In the orientation, they just wanted to let us know that this is going to be, in my words, a crumbling of who you are and a rebuilding of yourself in a different capacity, and to take this process slow and what I would tell people, take it sacred. It is a slow and sacred process of becoming this other part of you where you can hold space for other people. And they also said, self-care is going to be a huge part of this process because it's going to be the part of the rest of your life. In my specific orientation, I live out here in the Rocky Mountains. They said, we want you to get out to the mountains if you can, if that's part of your ability and what you like find ways to get out in nature, to decompress yourself, whatever other activities are considered self-care for you that helps you release and relax and rejuvenate. Yeah, they let us know that this whole program is going to be emotionally challenging, and it's supposed to be emotionally challenging. So to lean on each other and to lean on the staff when you are having these difficulties and revelations and just need to talk. Do not overload yourself with classes. They encourage us to take less than a full load at a time so you can really process what's going on. Rather than piling on more classes, if it takes an extra 6 months or an extra year, and it helps you, don't look at it as you have to stick to this strict timeline to get done, because in the end, it's not really going to make that big of a difference in your life. But going through this process is this is your one and only chance that you get to go through this master's program to become this professional counselor And I just encourage you to have a lot of reverence around this process. Did I say process like 15 times? Another thing that they said was that they cannot require students to be in therapy, but they encouraged us to please be in therapy during this process, because it won't be like if you were already in therapy before. As you are becoming this instrument for other people, it will bring up stuff for you. And you also, if you've never been in therapy, you need to know what it feels like to sit in that chair and have to be vulnerable. I started therapy during this process. I actually have 2 therapists. I am going through EMDR for past traumas. I also have a therapist that does anxiety related stuff. And I'm just taking advantage of everything my insurance will cover right now. And it has been enlightening to go through that. And no matter how long you've been in therapy, no matter how healed or unhealed you are, there is always more stuff, because such is the cycle of life. Most of the people I was in school with, there were people age 21 to mid 60s. But most of the people were in their 20s. And I was surprised how many of the younger people were not in a space to really uncover some of their own traumatic stuff. But I guess I think about where I was in my 20s and where I am now at 40, and I'm much more, over the past decade, I have become more and more open and giving, less, I'm censoring myself, mom, giving less of a crap about what people think. So I guess that I understand that, but I do feel like in this kind of program, it's your duty to do that. You also have a responsibility to become this clear instrument for this career decision. And that means there's responsibility to take care of your mind, body, and your spirit, because you're getting paid to do that for other people. And man, that just really hit me, thinking about like overeating on sugar, and people in my family are predisposed to diabetes and Alzheimer's, and thinking about just, we all have our unhealthy habits. And I, going through this process in every class, they really talk about self-care, how important it is, not because it's a luxury, but because you are the instrument. You're not deferring them to other things. Like, you are taking in these people's traumas, their stories, and learning how to carry it in your body without letting it affect you. There's so many layers to this, and it's fascinating and it's fun, but the self-care piece is important. Okay, the next part is about managing your schedule. You will be doing a ton of research papers and reading and having to work in groups with people. So just know, like, a lot of your bandwidth is going to be focused on that. It's not like when you were getting your bachelor's, tedious, busy work that is not interesting. When you're getting your master's, it's a different level. It's not like they're trying to make it hard. It's interesting and it's fun. You're going to want to do it, but it is time consuming with the amount you need to read and ponder and interact with people and write papers. And that's just what it is. I'd say 50% of your time is going to be focused on school, and you do have to have some time for self-care. Like, there has to be some downtime. And for me, like, I don't have a family I'm taking care of, don't have animals, I have a chill living situation, but I had to figure out some boundaries for my own time management. I had friends hitting me up to hang out, and I got very stressed out. Really going back to my own like neurodivergency, ADHD kind of anxiety levels. I have to keep things a little more calm in my world, and like in relation to how many people I contact. And my therapist has really helped me through, like, let people know this is a busy season and you feel overwhelmed, and you may not be able to get back to them for the next year. If it's people that are not very close to you, like family and like longtime close friends, that's okay. Because something that's also important to me with the self-care is making sure I am hiking about once a week, cold water plunges once a week, also meal prepping every few weeks. It's really sitting down, like, what are your priorities? And you'll see when you start this program that it is emotionally draining and intensive. It's going to be important to hone in on the people that are going to support you through this process, along with the cohort that you're in at school. The next section is about money. Grad school is not cheap. So there are different options when it comes to this. I would say actually the majority of people that I was in school with, they worked during this and they also took out loans. So they did a combination. You can also take out full loans during this process. It may not cover all of your living expenses. It may, and then you can also work the entire time and pay this off. So I've met people that are in all these, and of course there's people who have like parents that'll pay for stuff. The median like average for most schools is $12,000 to $13,000 a year, and this is generally a 2.5 year program. So that's about $31,000. I took out full loans. Like I've said before, I deal with ADHD and some anxiety, and my stuff that I've been going through in this process is very personal to everybody. So my personal process, I decided to give myself over to this program. I spoke to several people and they said getting your master, and these are people who have their doctors. They said getting their master's in counseling was the most special time of their life. And if they could go back, they would love to do it again. It was like a big hug because you cry in a lot of classes. Lord knows I have cried in so many classes. It just makes you want to wear a sweater and drink a warm drink and just know that you're going through this emotional process with all these people. They urge me, work as little as possible and give yourself over to this process because you're going to be a changed person on the other side of this. And so I decided to take out full loans, which can be very stressful, and to get in a ton of therapy and get myself over to this process. And I do not regret one part of that. A girlfriend of mine, she pointed out to me, she said, Blair, it is an honor that you have the privilege to be able to take out student loans, to pay for this process, to be of service to others. So, just like the name of this channel is The Free Perspective, that changed my perspective and my feeling behind it. And, what I believe with everything is it is your intention and your feeling and the energy behind feelings and thoughts and emotions that create your experience in your body, in your mind, in your emotions, your spirit, all that kind of stuff. So that's for me. Some people are much more practical and analytical. I am not that way. Now, I got grants for my bachelor's, but there's not a lot of options as far as like grants and scholarships, a ton when you were in your master's program. But guess what? I have gotten $25,000 in scholarships, which is incredible with the amount of loans that I've taken out. So your college, wherever you sign up, they will give you a list of internal and external scholarship opportunities. And basically it's where you have to write a bunch of papers or you get other people to write recommendations for you. And then some of them have different qualifications where you have to have a certain grade or be part of like activities on campus or whatever. So I have just written paper after paper and applied for things, and I have gotten a number of scholarships, which have surprised me. So when you get out of grad school, I mean, the stats are all over the place, but they say you make $40,000 to $50,000 working at a community agency as a mental health counselor. You can also go into private practice and make a lot more money than that. Of course, there's like, private practice overhead. I just kind of accepted before I went into this program. I talked to my older sisters who are, have their own loans and still from their school. And they're like, look, you just kind of factor it in to your life as a payment and you move on with things. You don't have to let it overcome your thoughts and your stress of like, oh my God, I'm in this huge amount of debt. Like you're going to live, you're going to make more money than you're making now. You're going to feel more fulfilled. And it's just a part of what you have chosen to do. I like to have different sources of incomes. And so that is something that, I always do gigs on the side, and I am actually working on some things now that I will be doing after I finish school. So, it will be part of my intention to be able to pay off some of these loans, but I'm not letting it take me over. I'm not holding shame around it. And I'm really for me, I'm holding so much reverence over this process and looking at it as a rite of passage. And that's part of my spiritual outlook on life in general. Okay, the next part is the schoolwork itself. I was 39 when I started this program, and I was worried because it's been a long since I've been in school. I mean, like 13, 14 years. And I'm just going to tell you, and I was told this before I went into this program, the work is not hard. The work is not difficult. It's not like you're like figuring out scientific or mathematical equations. It's emotion based. And if you're going to this program, you're going to be like probably an emotion person who enjoys like philosophical conversation and talk about your emotions. Getting your bachelor's was much more tedious work wise, but specifically in counseling and psychology, like it's fascinating. Like all of this is going to be fascinating and interesting, and it's fun, and you're going to be involved in it. It's more time intensive and it's more reflective. So you will have to learn how to read research and studies and clinical stuff and how to interpret it. And you will also do a lot of group work. And I imagine it's the same even if you're in a fully online program. Like you have to reflect a lot with other people. And an insecurity that came up for me was my own intelligence levels. And I had to just be open about that. But what I came to find is after getting close with all these people in my cohort is they all feel the same. They all feel the same. I mean, a lot of these people that were in their 20s, they've already been in the field. Their bachelor's is in psychology and they have been working in the field. And, my background is in art, and I'm like, I didn't speak the language. Y'all know, I mean, if you watch my channel, like I'm a little rough around the edges, tend to cuss a lot. I'm very humorous, and I brought that with me. That's who I am. But at the end of the day, we all kind of felt some level of insecurity. So it's totally natural. The next section is about, I'm just going to sleep. I need to figure out how to, fears. The imposter syndrome is a real thing, man. I'm very open on this channel about how I have anxiety. I have past trauma that was around school issues. So when I started this program a year and a half ago, it brought up a lot of stuff for me. Besides the school-related age and traumatic stuff for me personally that I have been going through in therapy, it also brought up imposter syndrome. And come close. Let me just tell you, every single person that you're in school with, all of them, everybody has imposter syndrome. Even if they have been in the field, what you realize is that healing is never done. And even if you've been in therapy for a freaking decade, you're still going to feel like, who am I to be telling other people how to live their life or pretending like I have it all figured out, like as a therapist? And guess what? You don't have to be that person, because you're not, and you don't. And what imposter syndrome really means is like you feel like you're holding something inside that if other people find out, then they're not going to believe in you. But what I have come to find out is being humble, having that humility and being vulnerable and saying, I'm afraid that I'm not enough. I'm afraid that I don't know enough. I'm afraid that I haven't had enough life experience to help people is really what helps to lessen those fears. And then you find out everyone else is feeling the same way. And you don't have to have experienced some trauma to be able to help people through it. Every professor I've had has said, if you are feeling insecure, if you are feeling like you have imposter syndrome, then you are right where you need to be. If you don't feel that, if you don't feel afraid, then your self-awareness level is probably not where you need it to be, because it really is like this crumbling experience to come to the other side. So just like, I just feel like I'm gonna cry. I just have so much reverence around it. I have another full year left. I have 2 more classes left, and then I'm starting my internship in less than 2 months. Practicum and internship is when you get your stuff handed to you, and that's when you really learn, and you're taking all these extra trainings. And then after the internship process, because I go to my own trainings. Oh, and that's something I don't have in my notes. Let me add this in. Trainings. So with my program, and I'm not saying what school I'm at, just to kind of like protect my own, like, I don't know, whatever. I have heard from people, from my own program and people in all of the surrounding like universities and online and in person, everything, that people feel like they're not prepared because school is so much about theory. It's so theory heavy. I go to a lot of my own trainings. I pay to go to my own trainings. You do not have to wait till you are out of school to go to your own. So for me, I'm interested in psychedelic therapy, somatic stuff, trauma therapy. So I have joined several local meetups. I go to all those trainings, whatever I can get into that you don't have to have credentials, and I pay for trainings. I pay for conferences. It has helped me to understand myself more. I have a number of mentors in my life who are in this field, and they have told me that you might think you know what you want to do. Like say you want to be a school psychologist or you're a school counselor, or you definitely want to work with unhoused population or whatever, that you won't really know who you want to work with until you start to get experience. And that will be through different trainings, and that would be most definitely through your internship experience. I'm sure I will have so many different things to say next year after I have gone through this practicum and internship experience. When I've seen clients. I just got done with my first practicum. There's 2 at this school. Most schools only have 1 practicum, and I've had 9 sessions with clients, and it was very fulfilling. It was very stressful, but it was fulfilling. So I'm feeling excited about it, but I know it is the tip of the iceberg of learning of who I am in this profession. And I just keep saying my mantra is I'm open. I'm open to being surprised of what is for my and other people's highest good. Because remember, I'm telling you, you're gonna feel anxiety when you're going through this program. Just remember, you are in service to other people. That is why you were there. If you are considering being in this program, or you just got accepted to this program, remember your why. What is your why? What is driving you to do this? Why would you go into this, some people say emotionally draining, low paid. I'm not going to look at it that way, because I'm going to make enough money, and my self-care is so important. But why would you go into this profession? What is driving you? And for me, it is to be in service of other people, and to be there for people who are going through stuff, like when I was and am going through stuff, to be with people who can see me like past all that, who I can just be like myself with reckless abandon, who are relatable, who will be there for me without having an agenda to make me different, or who will be there for me without judgments of people who have already known me. I go back to my spiritual thing. Such a sacred container to be into. So anyway, what is your why? Your why will drive you. And that is actually one of the most popular TED Talks by Simon Sinek, is called like Finding Your Why or something like that. So I recommend to go and watch that. So anyway, I truly hope, I hope the audio came out right on this, but I really hope this video was helpful for somebody who's going into this field. Like I said, I got a year left, so I will do some updates later on, but I am just so incredibly excited. So if you have any tips for me, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions for me, feel free to also leave them in the comments below. I love interacting with anybody, and good luck on this sacred journey. See you next time.